Yo guys, Matt from Epsilon Mining coming back at you with another video. I just wanted to talk quickly kind of about a little bit of what I am noticing with regard to the second-hand GPU market as it stands right now, and use a specific example that I've recently managed to get to actually benefit a little bit, I guess, from this GPU price dip. So I basically ended up getting a 1660 Super 6 gigabyte Asus Tough for 175 Canadian, which is pretty good, considering that these are still going for on Amazon $400, and might be able to get them used for 360 and below. And I actually I bought a bunch of these at $400 a few months ago, which is arguably too high, but they've been mining for months and months and months, so they paid for themselves a little bit, not 100% obviously. But I mean, if you take a look here, there's some other options, like there's a single fan 1660 Super, which I have one of. I got this used off of a local buy and sell, and I paid, I think, 350 Canadian for this thing. And you get them used for 318 as well here. These aren't that great for cooling. There's one giant fan on them, but this one tends to get quite hot quite quickly. But no, so essentially I got this one for 175 Canadian, which is basically half of the 350, which is what I paid for that one. And if you convert that in Canadian dollars, in US dollars, that's $136 for a 1660 Super, which isn't too bad. And the 1616 Super gets pretty good hash rates actually. It gets I have a whole multiple rigs of these 1616 Supers, and I got them primarily because the price point was lower than the newer 6600 series for the AMD. And not only that, but they are relatively efficient. Not as efficient as the 6600s, but I got like 4 to 5 rigs of the 6600s and 6600 XT variants. But if you take a look here at, let's say, I think rig 7. Yeah, so these are 1660 Ti's. So I got 3 of these rigs pretty much jam-packed with 1660 Ti's and Supers. And these are good on Ethereum. I mean, you're getting around 32 mega hash per second at around, well, 73 watts in the software. It's probably around 80 watts or so, like when you actually measure at the wall, which isn't that good. When you compare that, it's good. I mean, it's great compared to other some of the other cards and algorithms. If we look at the efficiency factor for that, let's say 32 divided by 80, it's a 0.4 efficiency, which is really good. That's 0.4 Ethereum per watt, which is really good, considering that, you know, some of the more efficient cards are in the 0.25 range, and these ones won't be able to compete at all when the merge happens. So when the hash rate is flooded into the coins, and but 0.4 is really good. Today I'm also getting the Jazz miner that's coming in. That's getting like that's a significantly, it's very efficient. I think it's like 270 watts. 570 or something like that, or 550. I don't know. It's like really good. It's 550 at 240, I think. Oh my God, that's like 2.29 efficiency. So like we're talking like 4 or 5 times more efficient, but it was costly. I mean, considering it was at 10,000 US dollars earlier this year and it dropped down to like just over 6. I mean, it's pretty good because the market's down, everything's down. So it's, I mean, if you're gonna buy hardware, I think it's gonna buy now. And I'm not making any financial advice here, but it's no, or I'm not a financial advisor, or I'm not you know, an expert really here. I'm just some dude on the internet. But I think if you believe the GPU mining is going to be coming back, or it'll be good. I mean, it's still good right now. Whether or not Ethereum merges or doesn't merge, or is extended or is not extended, I think GPU mining will be useful in a lot of different ways. I mean, for example, coins like Flux and things like that aren't going away anytime soon, or go. So basically, yeah, the price savings are massive now. Like we're talking down from 400 retail for a brand new 1660 Super to getting them for around like I said, 175 Canadian here on the used market. This was a really good deal. I think I offered him like 150, and he counter-offered 175 because he was originally asking like 250, and I was surprised he accepted this, but I'm glad he did now because I got a good deal here. And another thing I kind of want to touch a little bit upon is the think it's cost price averaging or something like that. It's basically not buying like, and I'm guilty for this actually quite a bit, is not buying all your GPUs like at once, but to buy them over time as prices drop down. So those cards near the end that you buy at lower prices actually bring down the total average that you paid for those cards, the other cards as well, which actually helps with your kind of your ROI if you're looking at it as a long term. If that makes sense, right? Like if you spent say 500, like say $400 for these 1660 Ti's a few months ago, and then you buy a whole bunch more now at like half the price, the average cost you paid per each one of these GPUs isn't really 400 anymore. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. So you've actually kind of helped your ROI and your numbers in that sense a little bit there. Anyways, guys, I don't want to talk too much more longer about this. I just wanted to kind of point out that I did get a pretty good deal in the 1660 Super, and this will probably drop even more. And yeah, I guess we'll kind of see what happens. I mean, let's check out what to mine. We'll just check out kind of what the current profitability on this 1660 Super is. And when this card comes in, I'm actually going to do on the test bench. I'll put this on a test bench, and I'm going to do a couple benchmarks on this test on this GPU to see kind of how it performs on Flux and Ergo and the other algorithms, because I really kind of want to see like how this is going to do after Ethereum's gone away. I know it's hard to kind of tell because blah blah blah, all the hash rate's going to come over from all the other cards to the other algorithms, but like as it stands right now, how it performs, it kind of gets you kind of like a sliding average at least of kind of like how it will perform. In contrast, in comparison to all the other cards in the market. So if I look at a 1660 Super right now, what we have here is on Ethereum, it's still making, well, so if I put 10 cents kilowatt hour, not that good, 24 cents a day on this one card. So that's because everything's dropped in price quite a bit, and we actually had a price dip today. So Bitcoin is actually down really, really bad right now. If you look here at the end of the week, at the beginning of the week, we were at a 31. Looks like we were up to 31, which is insane. I don't know how this even happened, guys. We were at on the 6th, we were 31,000. Now it's dropped down to like it's 23 right now. I don't know how it dropped that low, but like I guess if you're gonna buy, it's probably a good point to start buying some Bitcoin now, because when this recovers, and I think it will recover, it's not going to stay low forever. Nothing ever does. You just got to have patience and wait it out and use money that's kind of disposable, right? But let's take a look at the Ethereum value, because we can't really compare like with the what to mine Ethereum coin. But let's see, we're looking at a 7-day. Yeah, so we're actually down. So at the beginning of the week, we started out at 1,900, and we're down to 1,200. So obviously, this is going to look like garbage right now, 24 cents, because it's using those figures. Don't be fooled by that. I think this will go up, hopefully. If it doesn't go up, it looks like we'll be kind of experiencing some low profitability for a while. For me, I don't really plan to not mine until it's really, really, really bad, and then I'll just take the money. I'll take the money literally that I was going to be paying on electric, and I'll just take that money and just go and buy Ethereum or buy the coin, Bitcoin or whatever, invest it directly. So I have a certain budget. Basically, the way I do it, let me explain it. I have a certain budget for electric, right? So it could be between 1,200 to 1,400 Canadian per month, right? I pay that out of pocket for my income from my other sources, right? In the day-to-day kind of software development gig. So I'll take that money, I'll pay the electric with that money, and then that's tax deduction basically for my business, because it's all business expenses. So the cost of doing business is part of the electric. I do it at my house, but that being said, the huge increase in electric is essentially a business expense. I'm going to pay that off personally, but it's actually owed back from the company because it's actually an expense. So I expense that back to the company through a tax deduction. But in the event where this gets so bad that the values are dropping essentially below, like I want to also say I'm not a tax advisor or a professional, so this is a disclaimer on that. If it gets so bad that I could literally take that same $1,400, and let's say the $1,400 gets me like $600 worth of a crypto, right? That makes no sense, right? So I'm just going to take the I'm going to take the $1,400, and I could just basically essentially just buy some Bitcoin through an exchange or from Ethereum through exchange because I had that budgeted anyway. So for me, it's not really like it's bad because I feel like I'm moving forward and I'm growing my portfolio and my savings either way, whether that be through crypto or whether that be through personal investment. The only problem with taking that money on a personal level, to me, Matt, and buying the crypto is that now I'm now taking that money as my own personal money, if you know what I mean, and taking that own personal money and putting that in my own personal investments versus paying that out of pocket and having my company owe it back because it's part of the business operations. That makes sense. My personal portfolio, my personal investments is separate from the mining operation, which is done through the corporation, which is essentially expense deductions and things like that. Anyways, guys, I'm not a tax professional. Don't take this as financial advice. I'm not an expert on crypto. I'm not an expert on anything. I'm just a guy off the internet. And I wanted to share with you this awesome deal I got on this 1660 Super. I don't plan to buy a huge number more. Like, don't be thinking, oh, don't be going crazy on these GPUs, because my farm's already maxed out and so is my power. So at this point in time, I'm looking at maybe possibly getting more efficient cards. So if it gets really bad, I can get more 6600s and more super efficient cards to run and shut down some of the less efficient cards. So for when a brighter day comes around the corner in the future, and saving those cards and saving those rigs and the hardware and everything, that if it gets really good in the future again, I can get a second location. I can move those over to those locations, or I can update my panel to get more electric somehow, or just get a somewhere else to run those GPUs. But I don't plan to sell them. I don't plan to sell them at all, especially not now at a loss. I don't plan to sell any of these GPUs at a loss at all. I plan on keeping them as assets of the company and essentially money-making machines for the future, right? You got to think in terms of the future. It looks really bad right now, but too many short-term thinkers. Like, there's no way. There's no way. Like, it's at the lowest point this year, right? Of course, it's the lowest point at all. So at an all-time high, we're literally at the peak of 2017 when it comes to Ethereum, which is interesting. But I mean, if history does repeat itself, and history does tend to repeat itself, and it could take years, yeah, that's fine. It could take years. I'm not planning on going anywhere soon. I'm trying to eat my vegetables and want to get back to the gym. I don't plan on going anywhere soon. If you hold long term, I really think that over the time span of 3 to 4 or 5 years, if you have that sort of diligence and sort of perseverance and patience, I really think that this is going to go back up again in all cryptocurrencies, the major ones anyways, Ethereum, Bitcoin. Not a financial advisor, just spitballing with random thoughts in my mind. Like, there's no way this is going to stay that way forever. Like, and there's no way that this is the highest in the history of mankind. It's just going to like hit there 4,800 and just never get that back again. Like, it would, like, I guess it's possible for it to, like, this was just like a brief moment in the history of humankind, and it peaked and it just crapped out and everyone lost. If that happens, it happens. That's it. That's life, right? Just move on. But I mean, if we're hedging our bets here, I really think that it's going to go up, and it'll go up at least to where it was before, maybe even higher. It might take a few years. It might reach this point, drop down, and go back up again. But I think it's going to recover, and I think everything's going to recover at some point, especially once the economy starts recovering. Once inflation is finally returned back to how it was, Bitcoin will eventually, I think, go back up to where it was as well. Even Bitcoin follows the same trend. It's interesting. If you look at the trends here, Ethereum's almost following the exact same kind of trajectory, right? So as Bitcoin rises and falls, so does Ethereum, and so does a lot of the other cryptocurrencies. So if you keep an eye on this, Bitcoin, for example, Bitcoin goes up, especially as consumer confidence increases, and we get a grip on things like inflation, and that the war in Ukraine and all this stuff starts kind of improving over time, and gas prices start going down again, hopefully at some point. Unless you're very apocalyptic thinking, there's no way this is going to maintain for bad times. There's always going to be ups and downs. There's always peaks and valleys with regard to anything, right? There's going to be bad times and be good times, but usually the bad times don't last forever, and bad times are usually followed by good times. It's whether or not you have whether or not you want to wait for the good times to come, or do you want to sell all out now, right? So, I mean, historically, everyone who sells out the hardware, gets rid of everything, and just shuts everything down permanently, gets out of it and sells everything, usually, right, are the people that are kind of doing it on the downswing, which is the most foolish thing in the world. Like, people will buy when it's up here, right? And then they'll panic when it's here, and they'll sell it all. They'll think it's just going to drop down to zero. And essentially, a large portion of people are doing that, causing this to crash, essentially. they want their money back, and people are taking huge losses, which makes no sense at all. But I'm not even gonna get started on human psychology when it comes to like that sort of thing and dealing with grief and loss and and things like that. Anyways, guys, I'll leave it there. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.